see Johnson with a height advantage, 6 years younger, 22 pounds in weight, 4 inches in reach. Uphill task for McGroom.
Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Kirk Johnson-Terry McGroom fight is scheduled for 10 rounds. The standing 8 count is in effect. There is no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and he cannot be saved by the bell in any rounds, including the 10th and final round. Jim.
All right, thank you, Harold. Ring announcer, new face on HBO's Boxing After Dark, Mark Biro.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Park Place Ballroom at Bally's Hotel, Casino, and Tower on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, New Jersey, for an evening of World Championship Boxing on HBO's Boxing After Dark, under the promotion of Top Rank Incorporated in association with Budweiser, proud to be your Bud. Your matchmaker is Ron Katz. Tonight's bouts are under the auspices of the New Jersey State Athletic Commission, the Commissioner, the Honorable Larry Hazard. All bouts scored under a 10-point must system, 3 knockdown rule not in effect. Your ring officials assigned by the New Jersey State Athletic Commission, your ringside physicians are Dr. Kenneth Renson, Dr. Earl Shaw, Dr. Howard Taylor, and Dr. Charles Wingleton. Your timekeepers are Art Spell and Lindsay Tucker. Counting for the knockdowns at the bell, Scott Rubenstein. This is your first contest of the evening. It is scheduled for 10 rounds, heavyweight. Your judges at ringside are, from West Orange, New Jersey, Al DeVito, from Ardsley, New York, Melvina Lathan, and from Barnegat, New Jersey, Barbara Perez. Your referee for this event, also from Barnegat, New Jersey, Tony Perez. Introducing first, in the red corner to my left, wearing the black and red striped trunks, weighing in at 202 pounds. He is undefeated in 15 professional fights. He has 13 wins, no defeats, 2 draws, 8 wins by way of knockout. He hails from Flint, Michigan. Here is Terry Top Dog McGroom. McGroom. His opponent in the blue corner, wearing the white trunks, black trim. He weighs in at 224 pounds. He is undefeated in 20 professional bouts. He has 14 wins by way of knockout. He hails from North Preston, Nova Scotia, Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Kirk Mayola Johnson. Johnson, 10 rounds, heavyweight.
You already gave me instructions on the way, all right? Give me a good clean fight and I'm more than any one of you. 2 things you must remember. Obey my commands and most important, protect yourself at all times, all right? Shake hands. Good luck to both of you.
A new generation of heavyweights starting to show its stuff. Does Johnson belong among them?
Johnson's announced strategy for this fight. He wants to get off to a fast start, take McGroom out of the fight early. Don't give him any confidence as he tries to move up into the heavyweight division. As for McGroom, he wants to try to keep Johnson turning
All right, break,
so that the
no
bigger
punches.
man
That's
can't
it.
sit down on his punches. To do that, he needs to make liberal use of his jab and try to get inside and keep Johnson off balance. Tough assignment for McGroom.
Very tough assignment for McGroom. One thing I can say about McGroom is that he does have a well-experienced trainer in Ace Miller in his corner.
Johnson landing some early power shots, just as he had planned to do.
Johnson looks very good for a heavyweight. He has good hand speed, he's showing good balance, and he's showing good combinations here.
Johnson's been able in the first minute to establish his jab and get to the body a couple times. McGroom has not been able to get inside as he hoped he would, and has not been able to turn Johnson and keep him off balance.
if I were managing a cruiserweight, it is no way I would have picked this heavyweight to bring him up again.
Yeah, it would really be a monumental accomplishment for McGroom to be able to beat a guy like Johnson, who's a proven, established heavyweight at this early stage of his career.
Roy, he's 30 years old. The most money he's ever made for a fight is around $6,000 or $7,000. He's getting $30,000 tonight. That's why he's out there.
And he's out there looking like to give it his all.
Also, he comes from the notorious Cabrini Greens housing project in Chicago, so he's seen worse than Kirk Johnson in his day.
Well, after the early barrage from Johnson in the first minute of the fight, McGroom has slowed him down a little bit and landed a right hand over the top there. The left hook staggers McGroom, and he goes down.
2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the heavyweight division.
McGroom was hurt. He could have stood up, but he wisely went down on a knee to try to pull himself together.
Very smart, because when you end up with a guy this big, this guy can seriously hurt you.
McGroom with a much more graphic understanding now of what it means to take a heavyweight left hook. He sparred with some big guys, but admitted that they couldn't punch the way Kirk Johnson can.
And he makes it out.
Well, I tell you about pulling out them clinches, babe. You'll see something spit in. Get your breath, real deep. Spit bucket, Bruce. Right here. Okay. With your hands down is a good counterpunch. Hey, let's get on your toes and moving, son. You're sitting down like you're in the 10th round already, son. You're supposed to be moving on this guy, getting this guy tired. Okay. You move your right, get your hands.
Let's take a look and watch. This kid has some fast hands. Georgie Benton said he wanted to turn him into a heavyweight Ezra Charles, but Ezra Charles rarely went after a man with that kind of conviction early in a fight. Nice left hook. Short, sharp left hook that hurt McGroom.
Ezra Charles never had a chance to fight a man that he outweighed by 25 pounds.
Well, right. Ezra Charles was really a great, great light heavyweight who fought most of the top heavyweights of his day and was just a tremendous mechanic that everybody in boxing still refers to as one of the hallmarks of the sport.
He's the kind of fighter that McGroom would have to hope to be to succeed in this division.
And Ace Miller made a good point in the corner by telling McGroom the plan was to stay outside, move away on this guy, and make him tired first.
Two good trainers working against each other. Ace Miller with Terry McGroom, George Benton with Kirk Johnson. Benton, of course, taught Evander Holyfield a lot of his chops during Holyfield's years with Lou Duva and Benton as co-trainers. Guard trying to limit the damage that Johnson can do to his body. So far, he's been able to do that. There he lands a jab over the top, but he has to be careful about those short counters when he comes inside.
And Kirk Johnson is throwing a very good jab. He's throwing a defensive jab, which doesn't allow his opponent to counter his jab.
One of the things he told us, Roy, was that before he was with Georgie Benton, he only knew one kind of jab. And now he's trying to throw 3 and 4 different kinds.
Looks good on the right-hand uppercut there.
Looks very good with that right uppercut. These are things that you don't see good heavyweights do nowadays.
You can see there with a couple of feel-out left jabs followed by a good right hand.
Georgie Benton is spending a lot of good quality time with this kid.
So much attention is paid to the very top of the heavyweight division that A lot of young heavyweights are still struggling for identity. Johnson's one of them, along with fighters like Andrew Galata and David Tua and Courage Shabalala and Obed Sullivan, and there are several others, all of whom could emerge as possible title threats in the next 3 or 4 years.
Well, Kirk Johnson is about to become one of my best-looking prospects. He's one of my favorites now.
You like what you see?
I like what I see, especially for a heavyweight. And my hat is off to Terry McGroom because he is in here under a lot of pressure tonight, and he is not backing down, and he will not lay down.
Hanging in pretty well through the first 2 rounds. Terry McGroom giving up more than 20 pounds in weight and a lot of strength to Kirk Johnson.
And then double it up. Hit him to the bottom and hit him to the top, right? Because he's right there. Oh, just look, you just swing. Turn to hey, with right hand. You know what I'm saying? Now you're doing all right. Now that round, you're handling just right. You're winning. See, you have fun out there, right? Yeah. You don't go out there acting like you want to kill this guy because you'll miss all the fucking time.
Wonderful uppercut. Through 5 punches, landed one of them. It was a good one.
What Terry McGroom has not been able to do, which he had dearly hoped to be able to do, is to get in and flurry and get out. In the first 2 rounds, he's only been able to get off 11 power punches and has done virtually no damage.
You can't allow himself to throw power punches right now because he can't trade with a guy that is this much heavier than he is.
So he's just going to have to jab and hope that as the long course of the fight evolves, he can somehow pick Johnson apart.
That's right.
Well, obviously, part of what you like about Johnson, Roy, is the punching technique.
The punching technique, the execution of moves, and the fact that he stays busy with the jab anytime he's forward.
What about holding the left hand down so far?
Not a problem because he has great balance and great footwork.
And if you were in a bigger, stronger, or against a bigger, stronger opponent, he might not hold it quite so low. He's kind of inviting McGroom to come in, right?
Yeah, I think he wants McGroom to come in because it is to his advantage for them to trade punches. The thing I see Kirk Johnson doing right now is sometimes he's kicking a half a punch out there just to make McGroom keep his hands busy on defense.
They trade right hands at point-blank range. McGroom not backing off. And after having tasted the power of the left hook in the first round and gone down to steady himself, he's been able to hang in pretty well against Johnson's punching power.
Got in a good right and a left there.
And another right hand as McGroom gets considerably braver with a minute to go in round 3.
Yes, but he can't allow himself to get in a slug fight right here. He's much too small to battle with the bigger Johnson.
You can see McGroom almost willing himself to learn from this, regardless of what the outcome is going to be. Admirable trait in a 30-year-old fighter, but he was late coming to it. Boxing began as a disciplinary measure for him in high school. By Johnson, brought a left hook behind it.
If I'm not mistaken, Johnson has a little bit of a welt under his right eye, and his right eye appears to be slightly bloodshot.
The left hook by Johnson was partially blocked by McGroom's glove. Still to come on HBO's Boxing After Dark. The Flushing Flash, Kevin Kelly of New York City, against Edwin Santana, unbeaten from Lawrence, Massachusetts. Tonight's boxing card, so typical of modern boxing. 3 of these 4 fighters are undefeated, and the one who has lost a fight, Kelly, is by far the best known quantity of the 4.
But you throwing that right, don't hold it back. Throw it in here and in here. Okay. Keep him reaching at it.
One behind the combination. 2 jabs, right hand, left hook. Move in when you throw it. Don't throw it from the outside. All right? This guy ain't got nothing you ain't been in with before. You understand that? Huh? Let's get with it now and win this round. Need this round.
Remember Ace Miller's topsy-turvy days with Big John Tate? 1984 Olympic heavyweight. Or check it, 1976 Olympic heavyweight, I should say.
Ace Miller has coached myself through a great deal of national amateur boxing matches.
Yep, knows the stuff, huh?
Yes, he does.
Round 4, and there were moments in round 1 when it looked like McGroom would never make it this far. So you got to give the smaller fighter credit for steadying himself and finding a way to stay in the fight so far.
Yeah, you have to give him a great deal of credit because he is in here with a very good-looking young prospect in the heavyweight division. This guy almost, Kirk Johnson, he almost reminds me of a young Greg Page.
Except he's more on his flat-footed, not looking to jump in and jump out and be all over the place.
But the hand speed and the pretty punches are there.
Much more classically trained fighter.
Great right hand by Kirk Johnson. There was a lot of enthusiasm about the young Greg Page. I don't think he was quite as well muscle developed or as strong as Johnson appears to be.
No, he wasn't quite as muscle developed, but he did have the good hand speed and the pretty good punching power.
Yep, and good mechanics.
And this kid has excellent mechanics.
Johnson is in a groove here where he's trying to soften up the smaller man. The smaller man escaped early in the fight. He has shown he's tough and resourceful, and now Johnson just wants to beat him, soften him up, and perhaps stop him in a later round.
And Johnson showed a great deal of patience.
McGroom sneaking a jab in as Johnson tries to triple up with his own jab. Johnson going downstairs to jab to the body, and McGroom takes advantage to come upstairs.
McGroom also landed a right hand earlier. There's another one.
Terry McGroom is a willing fighter. Now his left eye appears to be closing gradually as the fight goes on.
Four rounds, Harold Letterman, how do you see it?
Larry, not a tough one. 40-35, 4 rounds to nothing. Kirk Johnson. You got to give him an extra point for the first round because it was a good, clean knockdown, so he wins that 10-8. The next 3 rounds, he wins closely, 10-9, makes it 40-35. Kirk Johnson is killing him with that up jab. He puts the left hand down and just snaps that jab up. He touches him, keeps him off balance, and then fires that straight right hand. McGroom's just not doing enough to win a round. So Kirk Johnson keeping him on the end of the jab, winning each and every round.
I gave McGroom the 3rd round, otherwise we're in sync.
What do you mean?
This is your kind of fight now. See, this guy's looking for that cat and mouse game. Let's open up a little bit. Come on. Got to have a round.
In addition to being great trainers, both Benton and Miller have great voices to listen to. What would you call? I would call Benton's voice an alto sax.
It's a baritone sax.
It's a baritone sax. All right, better. I agree with that. Miller's is like number 3 sandpaper. This round, saw the punch stat numbers that showed you that Johnson has thrown a lot of jabs, hasn't landed them at a high rate, but these are tactical jabs, aren't they, Roy?
Very tactical jabs. They keep the other guy's hands busy defending punches. Oh, good right hand by Johnson. Another one.
And a punch pretty well taken at first by McGroom, but he is done. Trying to collect himself here, and Johnson should test him one more time with that right hand. Obviously, Johnson's convinced that McGroom has gotten his senses back.
Isn't it time, Roy, for McGroom to come inside and try to be inside those big long arms and fight him in there rather than outside? Because he's having absolutely no luck, no good fortune, no ability to do anything from outside.
Yep, but it's kind of like when you're facing a guy like I know, like Roy Jones. When you come in, you get hit so hard trying to get in there. Once you get there, you get hit just as hard when you're in there. You get back outside, you don't get hit quite as much and quite as hard, so sometimes that's the best place to be.
You're saying it's the lesser of two evils.
Exactly.
Yeah, but then he's also submitting to the opponent's strength.
And to ultimate defeat, because as you point out, Larry, he's got no tactical options from out here.
But if he runs in there, he'll go and get defeated much quicker than if he just stays out there. At least he can see what's going on a little bit better out there.
Choose your poison. Another good round for Kirk Johnson.
I would much rather watch him take this left jab in the face than to get caught with the hook coming in.
Good job blocking the left hook there by McGroom, who knows how to keep his gloves up.
Good jab by McGroom.
McGroom coming in behind the jab, pretty good head movement. Johnson not getting flustered, taking his time. Landed a couple right hands in this round, and will keep looking for opportunities to get the right hand across the top.
One bad thing about McGroom, Larry, is that if he gets inside, he's not going to stay there anyway.
Well, that might be the safest place for him, though, Roy.
And speaking of safe places, this seems like as safe a place as any for us to introduce you to 27-year-old Denise Piero. Born in Fort Lee, New Jersey, now lives in nearby Ventnor, works part of the time in a salon, but thinks of herself as a full-time model. She's been covering the round card gig for about 4 or 5 years, and she's the only round card gal here tonight. And not a bit afraid of doing it alone. What'd you say, Les?
And nobody at ringside seems to be complaining.
That's right. As you said earlier, only one of her, and what was the line, Larry?
That's enough.
Behind the jail.
I think Georgie Benton has sent Kirk Johnson out to get this fight over with now.
Benton anxious to get back downstairs before the music stops and the casino closes. And McGroom stepping in a little bit closer, just as Larry Merchant suggested he should.
Well, he has no other choice.
He has shortened the distance between himself and Johnson, and he's going to find out right here how long he can last in the heavyweight division from this proximity.
He landed a good right. Johnson is forcing the action. That's why they're so close here, I believe, Jim. Johnson has decided to come in behind his defense and make it more of a war inside. Like this.
Good hard left hand in close by Terry McGroom. He's a pretty sharp puncher when he gets a chance to get off in there.
And he still has a lot of fight left in him.
Out scheduled for 10 rounds. Action slows considerably now in the middle portion of the 6th. After a vigorous first minute here. Johnson going to a kind of underhand right-hand lead.
That was a good left uppercut by McGroom that bust Johnson's lip.
And a cute little left hook inside by McGroom.
If McGroom pushed the issue here a little more, he may be in better shape.
Yeah, Johnson made a mistake a moment ago, sticking the right hand out and pawing with it, but McGroom didn't fire the left over the top, which he could easily have done. Right hand by McGroom as he pulls away. Now Johnson lands a left and a right. McGroom liking the opportunities he finds as Johnson has decided to open up a little bit in round number 6 and took some punishment for his trouble.
All he's going to do, Terry, is come out and blow him hard shots at you for 45 seconds. After that, he's your man. You just keep pulling back, and you can't pull back. Don't you understand what I'm telling you, buddy? Don't you hear me? You got to get rough with this guy. You won't win this fight. After he's thrown that barrage at you, you picked him off. Move inside on this guy. Walk your steps in, move with your head this way, Terry. Get inside, start chopping. Don't throw long-rangey punches. Okay. Throw short, choppy punches inside. And when you get there, work this stomach. Make him earn what he's doing, Terry. He may have to.
And throwing punches at him. The guy wasn't doing nothing. Well, don't worry about the one around. You winning the fight. But you winning, you got to keep going.
Here's Johnson throwing a lead right, followed by a big left. That was a right jab, left hook combination, basically.
McGroom, who had been averaging only 8 or 9 power shots per round before the 6th, opened up and threw 21 power punches in round 6 and landed 10 of them. So that was by far his most successful round at trying to do something inside against Kirk Johnson. Still, Johnson, the more active fighter, landing the harder shots, taking advantage of his size, and he clocked McGroom with a left hook there.
Another thing McGroom hasn't elected to do here, which may help him in this fight against a bigger man, is to go to the body.
And that's something that Johnson had planned to do early on, but since the first 2 or 3 rounds, he has not remembered to go to the body as much against McGroom. Might be a worthwhile strategy for him to go back to that, too.
Yeah, because it would open McGroom's head up a lot easier.
Jabbing down to try to get McGroom to drop his hands. Johnson looking down as though McGroom was on his foot, but now Terry McGroom steps in and takes advantage with a left and a right hand.
But he still has to be careful here.
He's getting awfully brave in there, Roy. Both fighters unbeaten, and both of them showing that unbeaten mentality.
Especially Terry McGroom.
His desires really surfaced in these past couple rounds.
I think now is the time for him to really push the issue if he ever wanted to make up for any lost ground in this fight.
Two more great counter shots in there by McGroom. A left and a right. And Johnson has lost his equilibrium here in round 7 as Terry McGroom has begun to slice him up on the inside.
One thing, he's basically lost control of the fight with the jab. He has not been controlling McGroom with the jab like he was earlier in the fight.
I think Johnson's going to get an earful from George Benton.
Now listen. Good. The way this guy's coming to you. The way this guy's... The way this guy's coming to you now. This should be right up your alley, Kirk. Listen. You know, see, you could meet this guy head on because you could not fight him on the inside. You got a good defense, and use your defense. Catch punches, block punches, then fire back. But you got to start at the bottom. Don't let this guy push you back. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. You got to meet this little guy's charge and catch the punches. Use that defense that you know you got. Catch punches and fire back, but start at the bottom. Don't let this guy bully you and make you look like shit.
Here is McGroom on the attack. The little guy going after the big guy. Two flurries in the round may have won the round for McGroom. Well, we may find out more about Johnson than we thought we would in terms of what he's got inside as well as outside now.
Georgie Benton made a very good point to Johnson just now in the corner. He told him to meet this smaller guy head on. Don't let him push you back.
I've been wondering why he's been going back while the little guy's coming after him.
He's been going back for the last 2 rounds.
All that does is give the little guy confidence.
It's a mark of McGroom's will that it happened. It was just a case of Terry McGroom hanging in and ultimately mentally forcing Johnson to go back.
Good job by Terry.
Why is Johnson backing up like this? Is he just not comfortable fighting in close, Roy?
I think he's beginning to get a little tired and he doesn't want to stay inside with McGroom. No, he's not comfortable. He shouldn't be comfortable fighting in close with a smaller guy. But he also shouldn't be backing up from him this much. He should have kept control of him with the jab.
No longer commanding the fight with the jab, so therefore the territorial imperative belongs to McGroom.
Good left hand inside by Johnson.
Left uppercut. Landed flush. That momentarily slows McGroom's forward momentum. But now here comes Terry again.
Ace Miller told Terry in the corner 2 rounds ago that the guy comes out, throws a 45-second barrage after the action, and then he's yours. And this seems to be telling true.
Which would go to your point about Johnson hiring. Now Johnson stands his ground and uses his superior power. And McGroom says, I'm willing to take it. Starting to rise to the occasion. Oh, McGroom got caught.
That was a punch that landed in the eye, and that's why he went down.
I think you might think that he was stunned. Tony Perez stops the fight. Stop.
and gentlemen, the time, 3 minutes even of the 8th round. The winner by knockout and still undefeated, Kirk Johnson.
An interview with Kirk Johnson. Yep.
All right, Kirk, congratulations. Give us your assessment of the fight. You started off strong, but you seem to be looking for a way to get to him in the middle round.
Well, you know, first of all, I give thanks to Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. This fight is dedicated to my Aunt Deborah Ann Johnson. You know, when I came out there strong in the first round, even though I looked pretty strong to myself, I really didn't feel like I was really there. So what I had to do is, you know, try to get the jab going so I can catch him with something flush.
Did his quickness as a heavyweight give you some problems?
Not that it really gave me so much problem. You know, he was shorter and smaller than I really thought he was, so therefore he didn't have a whole big target for me to hit at. And plus, he kept his hands up pretty good, too.
All right, we're going to try to run a picture of the knockout punch. What do you recall about it, and describe what you see on the screen?
Well, you know, at the time, you know, my coach, George Benton, he said, you know, go up the middle because, you know, when I was hitting him with stuff, straight punches, he was kind of like seeing them and guiding them off. So I just thought I'll just go to the middle. And I had to fight strong because George, he knew at the time that I was fighting very lazy. So he just wanted me to work.
Thank you very much, Kirk.
Thank you.
All right, Jim, the trainer of McGroom told me that the tip of Johnson's glove did catch McGroom in the eye. Go ahead.